Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to use the Godox iT32 together with the X5 trigger to control multiple other Godox X wireless system flashes. Alright, so there's basically three scenarios that I'm going to go over. One is when you have the X5 trigger attached to the flash, and then of course attached to the camera. So we're going to use the iT32 on camera with the X5 to control multiple other flashes. The other scenario is if we use the flash off camera and control multiple other flashes. And then the third scenario is just using the X5 trigger all by itself. So I'm going to break up these scenarios into three videos. In this video, I'm going to cover using the iT32 on camera as a trigger to control other Godox flashes. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to connect the iT32 with the X5 trigger with all these other flashes. Now, I can't cover every scenario and every different model of Godox, but this should cover the most popular ones. So first, we're going to start with connecting to a second iT32, connecting to the very popular TT350 and the V1. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is assign a wireless channel number and ID number. So we'll go into the menu here by swiping down, go into the wireless menu, and we can assign any channel we want here. I'm just going to choose number 7 here, so channel 7, and I'm going to leave the ID number off. This is sort of like a sub-channel, so this would be like channel 7.5, but I've never had to use the ID number. I'm just going to use channel 7. Okay, the next thing we need to do is put this flash into transmitter trigger mode. So we'll go into the menu, and there's a couple things I recommend you do. First is go into the main menu here and go into trigger distance, and make sure this is on 0 to 30. Otherwise, if the flashes are too close together, you're going to get some misfires. Especially if you're in this mode, you could get some misfires. And I'm going to be working with the flashes close together, so I'm going to select 0 to 30. This works 99% of the time. If your flashes are much greater distances, say 10, 20 meters, then I would go ahead and switch to this, but usually 0 to 30 is fine. So let's go back out, let's go back into the menu. And now to put the flash in the transmitter mode, it's this little icon next to the wireless icon. And right now it looks a little bit like an on-camera flash icon, so we're going to touch it again. And now we're in transmitter mode. It's sort of this flash head with convex circles or half circles in front. If we touch it again, this will put us into receiver mode because now we have sort of these convex half circles in front of the flash head. Touch it again, we're back to on-camera flash mode, and now we're in transmitter mode. So back out, and you can tell we're in transmitter mode because now we have M, A, B, and C for groups. So M being the main flash here, and then groups A, B, and C. So this can control the main flash and up to 3 groups. Now we need to go back into the wireless menu, and we're going to start pairing this flash with the other flashes. So we'll go ahead and turn on sync mode, and then we're going to get our second iT32, and there's no X5 trigger on here. We'll swipe down again, go into the wireless menu, and this is and then this also has a sync button, so we'll just push there, and you can see that it instantly sync, and it's going to sync to whatever was first. So the iT32, this was on channel 7 with no ID number. All right, so the TT350 is an older model, so it doesn't have automatic syncing. So what we're going to do is on the iT32, we're going to go back into the wireless menu and see what channel and ID number we're on. So channel 7 and ID number is off. All right, so on the TT350, what you do is you go ahead and you push the sync button and you push and hold it until you see the wireless icon over here blinking. And once that's blinking, you can rotate the wheel and change the mode that we're going to go into, the wireless mode. So this wireless mode is for master, meaning the TT350 is going to be the transmitter, but we want the TT350 to be the slave in this case. So let's go ahead and push the wireless sync button again until that's blinking, and then we're going to rotate this until we see S, and then we have the channel number. So we'll go ahead and push set. Now we need to change the channel number. So we're going to push the slave button here and press and hold it until the channel number starts blinking. And then we're going to rotate this to channel 7. And if you need to set the ID number, it's actually kind of hidden in the menu. So you have to push and hold the channel button and then rotate until you see ID, and then you select that, and then you can set the ID number to whatever you need it to be. But in this case, we're going to have it off. And it's always good to double check that the ID number is off anyway. All right, now for the Godox V1, you need to put this into receiver mode or slave mode. So you push the little lightning bolt button here until it turns orange, and you see the RX here. And then we need to change the channel number, and then we're going to check the ID number. So to change the channel number is very simple. You just push the channel button here, and then you change that to channel 7, like so. And then to check the ID number, you go into the menu, and you just kind of scroll until you see the ID number, and then we're going to turn that off. All right, now that we have all the flashes assigned to channel 7, ID off, we need to assign each flash to its own individual group. All right, first let's set up our second iT32 to group A. So what we're going to do first is we'll go into the menu. We're going to make sure this is into receiver mode. So again, we want the concave half circles, and we'll go back out. And you can tell we're in receiver mode because you'll see the letter A up in the corner or some other letter. Now, if this was not assigned to letter A, you can change it. So you just touch the letter there, and you can change it to whatever group letter that you want. And we want this one to be on group A, which is probably the default setting. For the TT350, we're going to push the slave button here, and the letter is up here. We see the letter A, so we're just going to toggle it A, B, C, and I want this to be on group B. So we're going to put that to group B, as you can see there. And then on the B1, you can see we're on group A. We just toggle it using the group button here, and we're going to put this on group C, but you can see this one goes all up to group E. But we just want that to be on group C, and we'll just do set there. Now's a good time to check and see if the flashes will fire only in the group that they're assigned to. So we'll start with the number 2 flash here, the iT32. And on your iT32 number 1 here, the transmitter, you want to make sure everything is turned off to start. So we'll go ahead and just push the test button. And the only thing firing is this flash, and nothing else is firing. However, let's go ahead and turn on group A, which is flash number 2 here. And we just touch and hold on the screen like this. And it'll toggle between off, TTL mode, and manual mode. So let's go ahead and put this into TTL mode just for testing. Okay, so let's do a test fire. And I don't know if you can see that, but this fired just fine. And the other 2 flashes did not fire, which is exactly what I wanted. Now, you may run into 2 problems here when you're doing this. One could be is the flashes are too close. So if I push test fire now, this is not firing. Just move it away a little bit and it should work. Because as you can see, like if I go into manual mode, it switched to manual mode. But if I want to put it back into TTL mode or turn it off, you can see it's not communicating because they're just too close together. So that's why I recommended earlier that you set the trigger distance to 0 to 30. Otherwise, you might have to move the flash pretty far away to check for that. So we're on 0 to 30, and we'll hit test, and now we're in TTL mode. Another thing you need to look out for is if you inadvertently touch the screen here and move this to say +2 exposure comp, this flash is now 2 stops brighter than this one. The problem is if I add 1 here, now this flash is 3 stops brighter than this flash. So it's always a good idea to make sure these are both set to 0, just to avoid confusion in your lighting setup, unless you know intentionally that you want this to be brighter than this one by a certain amount. Let's do the TT350. So I'll go down, and we'll turn this on, and now you can see it switched. I'll do a test fire, and it's firing. Now I can also test manual mode. You can see it switched to manual mode, and I can adjust it directly. We'll go ahead and just leave it in TTL mode. And then for the V1, we'll go ahead and push C, and put that to 0. Now, the TT350 and the V1 do not have exposure compensation when they're in receiver mode, so you don't have to worry about that like you did with this one. So for the V1, we'll go ahead and just do a test fire, and it's firing. And we can go into manual mode, and we can check it, and that's looking good. It turns off, and then we'll turn it back on. Now that everything is synced and the flashes are assigned to different groups, let me show you how to control the flashes using the iT32 on camera in my little mini studio here. Alright, I have the camera in program mode. Let's just take a quick picture here. And that's what we get. Now, let's go ahead and turn on the master flash. So we'll just go to M, and we'll put that in TTL mode, and we'll take another shot. So in TTL mode, generally the camera is going to just try to use the ambient light and then use the flash as fill light. But I want a more dramatic effect. I want the flash to be the primary light source and not the ambient light. So I'm going to go ahead and put the camera into manual mode. And I'm at 1/100th of a second, f11. And I'm going to turn on my night vision so that I can see the scene. Generally I recommend using night vision whenever you're using flash because your final exposure will be nothing like what you see on the live view otherwise. And the reason I use those camera settings, 1/100th of a second, f11 at ISO 200, is because I want to crush all of the ambient light and get a black frame so that the only light hitting the subject will be coming from the flashes. So let's go ahead. We're still in TTL mode. Let's take a picture here. And now we have a much more dramatic shot. But you can see the problem now is we have this very strong shadow in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another light to the back. So I'm going to take flash number 2. This is on group A. And I'm just going to point it at the background here. Like so. Let's aim it up a little bit. And I think that'll do. Maybe just down a little bit more. Okay, so group A. And okay, now I'm going to go ahead and turn on group A and just leave that in TTL and see what we get. Now you can see we certainly got rid of the shadow, but now the main light or the key light that's on the camera is not providing enough light to illuminate the subject. So now I could dial in some exposure compensation, do +3 here, -3 here, whatever, but that's a little bit trickier because you never know what you're going to get. So it's better to just put the flashes into manual mode. So I'm going to switch them both to manual, the main light and the key light. And I like to start out somewhere in the middle, about 1/32 power. And you get a feel for it after you practice a little bit. But I like to start out about 1/32 power. That way it gives me a few stops to brighten the flash and a few stops to darken the flash output if I need to get the desired effect. So let's go ahead and go into manual mode. And we'll dial in 1/32. And do the same thing for group A, and that's at 1/32. And let's put it back on the camera. All right, let's take a picture here. Okay, a little better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this light power output by about 2 stops. And I think the backlight is fine. So we'll just leave that at 1/32. Okay, let's try that. All right, much better. All right, so that looks about right. So we have our key light, we have our background light. Now I'm going to grab my TT350, which is on group B, and I'm going to make this the fill light. And I'm going to point it kind of from this direction, in an upward direction, just to make it a little more dramatic. And I'll just set it down right about there. And then we're going to go ahead and set the flash power to 1/32. Okay, very good. All right, very good. So I see some nice light on the face now. Now what I want to do is just add a little rim lighting here. So I'm going to take my next flash here. This is on group C. And I'm just going to kind of point it from behind to create some rim lighting. So let's go ahead and assign group C to 1/32 power. Actually, because this is a much larger flash, I'm going to go down to 1/64th because it's much brighter than the little TT350 and iT32. So I'm just going to kind of hold it in this direction and take a picture. Okay, so the lighting looks really good all the way around. You can see that's definitely a big improvement. Now we can make this even more dramatic by using the dramatic tone filter. So I'm just going to switch the camera into art mode. And select dramatic tone, number 1. And we'll take another picture. Very nice. All right, now let's just do one more thing. Now the iT32 flash comes with these little magnetic CTO gel filters. So I'm just gonna clip this onto the front, and this will add a little color to the background. And then also I'm gonna shift the white balance a little bit to 4400 Kelvin just to get a little bit cooler look to the image. And one other thing I have to think about, when you put CTO gels on like this, typically they take away at least a half a stop, but usually about a full stop of brightness from the flash. So I'm also going to adjust the brightness of this flash, which is on group A, by 1 stop. So group A, we're at 1/32. Let's move this up to 1/16. And then we'll go into the control panel, and we'll adjust the white balance to 4400 Kelvin. I have it set here. And then let's take another picture. Ooh, and that looks pretty awesome. Now in my upcoming video, I'm going to show you how to use the iT32 off camera to control other flashes, as well as how to use just the X5 to fire other flashes off camera. So be sure to subscribe so you get notified when those become available. And if you'd like to support the work that I do here in these kind of videos, you can buy me a coffee or make a donation using the links below. But that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.